Here we are. Like and subscribe. YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. We're on Instagram, TikTok. TikTok's going to be gone, but
they were supposed to ban it in January, and they haven't, so.
It's coming up 9 days.
9 days it's official going to?
I think it's the Supreme Court, right?
I bet
Yeah.
they're just going to... Like, is someone going to buy it out, and then we're just going to have it
There's already
Americanized?
investors lining up.
So
but
it's going to stay, probably. It's just not going to be
Trump
China run.
wants to have the Supreme Court delay their ruling on it to shut it down so that he can get into office, and he's thinking he has some political sway that can, I don't know, change how Chinese government
Does it?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, isn't stealing data or something?
Yeah. Doesn't have the ability to, I guess.
Sure.
I hope it goes away just for like 2 weeks to see people freak out.
Yeah.
On TikTok.
Yeah, that would be funny.
And that's what kind of sucks both ways is, I mean, it's good because people would realize how addicted they are to it, but then they would just find a different platform. But for the amount of people making money off of it, that would suck.
Yeah.
How are they making money? Selling stuff?
Oh, I mean,
I think it's just
selling
like YouTube,
stuff,
right?
but it's also like you post a video for how many likes you get and comments you get. It's like $1 percentage per comment.
Yeah, I hope that goes away.
It's like how many people are making their
Their whole
families
income.
living their whole income off of this, and now you're like, well, it's just gone. Which that's like the risk that you're putting in with having your income be based off of a internet platform.
How popular you are.
Yeah.
That's tricky to do.
Yeah.
It's like
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
right, right.
You know, it goes back to that influencer thing again. You know, it's like you got your 15 minutes of fame. Now what?
Yeah. What have you done with that money or even with that platform? That's where, I mean, so many people, it seems like they do that, but then you got to set up other things outside of it. Otherwise, yeah, you could get caught in the water kind
Or
of thing.
provide value in a way that people are going to follow you to a different platform, that it doesn't really matter. It's like when Rogan went to Spotify and doesn't do YouTube, people will go to Spotify just for him.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
if you can get people that whatever new TikTok or new whatever is going to be created, that's going to be the similar version of TikTok, those fans of yours will follow you there, and then you'll start making money on that platform.
Yeah.
If it does get shut down, what do you guys think is the next? Where does everybody go?
I bet it's not even created yet. Like, I bet it'll be a new thing. Instagram has been around probably second to longest to, well, I don't know. Maybe Twitter was first. Facebook was, I could look it up.
Yeah.
Instagram is just kind of grown, but it's not like the main thing, but it's still one of the main things. Like,
I feel it was like maybe Twitter or Facebook, then Twitter, and then was it Snapchat was big?
that was later after Instagram.
Really?
Because Instagram came out, geez, when we were in 7th grade, maybe. So 13.
I could never do the Snapchat thing.
It is very
taking
like,
a selfie and then
That's like people's texting.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Ugh.
But then you also see kids, like, I'll see, like, if you just like walk behind a kid and they're opening up their Snapchats, like, all they do is open it up, take a picture of the ground, and then send it back. Like, they're not actually saying anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I'll send you a picture, you send me a picture, but it's of nothing. Like, there's no context. At least if you were sending a picture of yourself, I could see, or like what you're doing, maybe. But they're not even doing that. And then there's no like words.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it,
Like,
I don't
what
think
is
they're even
that?
taking selfies. They're just taking a picture of whatever's in front of them.
It's
And
like,
then
what's the point of that?
writing on that.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you want to promote the Mercy podcast? Or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you do it.
So if you go on YouTube, you have to search Mercy Health Wisconsin. Otherwise, there's another Mercy Health that pops up. It'll be a blue and white banner. And then Dad is also going to have a podcast coming out sometime in January, you said?
Yep.
Sometime in January, talking about, what was that episode about? Do you remember?
Just about the classes that we teach and the history of where I work now.
And they're going to put it once a month.
I believe so, yeah. This
Okay.
is only our first one that's not even out yet, so.
And is it basically like talking, like one of the examples, like be like talking through an emergency situation, how to handle that, or how you guys handle that, and then teach other people how to?
I don't think we're sure on what direction it's going to go yet. The first one we just kind of talked about the classes that we offer, how we came up with the name for the podcast, our backgrounds a little bit, and I think we want to get like the doctor who approves all of our teaching, all our classes. He's going to come out. He's actually an emergency room doctor, ex-military. And from there, I don't know where, I mean, I don't see us like breaking down incidents or doing, debriefs or anything like that. Because some of those guys are still working. So there's still,
Yeah.
if you talk about something, what you did, could that open yourself up to legal trouble
Oh, got it.
down the road? I don't know. I think it's just so new that we don't know where it's
Open-ended
going to go.
opportunities, kind of.
Yeah, for the 5 people that are going to watch it, and 5 of us are all instructors.
Yeah. Yeah. This will probably come out like later January, this one. So I wonder if it's already out by now.
So then we could post, like, tag it in the thing
Probably, yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to bounce off of?
I was reading a little bit about that California lake, that Tulare Lake, and they dammed up a bunch of the rivers around it. So now it's like they used it for farmland for so long, but whenever they get heavy rains, that lake like becomes flooded, and then all that farmland and all those crops and agriculture ends up getting wiped away and whatnot. So the intention was to be able to produce more whatever avocados, all that kind of shit. But every now and again, like it just happened in 2023 where that lake like came back because they had some crazy storms and whatever, and then it just flooded all of that because it's supposed to be a lake. So it's like whenever they get any intense rain or weather, that all floods up and all that agriculture gets messed up for a little while. But I think we had talked about it on one of the other ones of them damming up that lake in California, and then with all these fires going on, it made me think of it again. I was like, oh, I should look up to see what I can find. But they started damming that up and doing stuff in like the 1880s or something. It was like 130 years ago.
So shortly after California was founded.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't mean when did California become a state?
1850.
Yeah.
So 30 years. Yeah.
Dang.
But there's still, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 rivers that are dammed up, and I think they dammed up 2 more recently because they were still having issues with like the water kind of running off or like going in different places and that lake filling up again. But it's like, how many more signs do you need that this is supposed to be a lake and maybe find farmland somewhere else? But it's kind of hard because they use it as like, this is really fertile ground and good for
because
agriculture.
it was a lake.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, there's benefit to that, but then there's all these other issues of they've created these like evaporating ponds for runoffs and stuff like that, to where now what's running off is like all the diseases and all this
Pesticides.
nasty shit. So then they've had to make those ponds, but then they also have to like, they're using it to divert water to other areas for more agricultural reasons. So it's like, it's kind of seems like it makes sense of what they did of trying to produce more agriculture, but
It wasn't thought out.
I don't know if it was thought out the best because it's still a problem.
And you can't, it's nature. It's topography of the ground. I mean, it's like
right.
You're changing the earth.
Right.
And then what problems does that bring along with it? Now, California has a water shortage problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I'm like, how do you have a water shortage problem, but then you're also doing this, like diverting water for agriculture? It just doesn't make sense of you're doing this for agriculture, but then you also have this water shortage problem. And this singular lake probably isn't the solution to all, but it's like, why? I don't know. It just reminds me of the pasteurizing milk thing. You did this in the 1880s. You haven't thought of a better thing to do now? Like, why can't you let that come back? And there's probably agriculture or farming in other parts of the state. I mean, they did this 30 years after they even found the state. So it's like, you haven't thought of better ways to do this?
And how populated was California that long ago?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that was still people moving west.
Yeah.
And then you think about like Big Bear, which I think is crazy to have that big of a lake. Like when we drove up to Big Bear and how high up we were in the elevation, and then it's like there's just a lake up here.
Yeah.
Like when you see the mountains from sea level, you're like, there's no way why would there be a full lake and water up there?
At 6,000 feet above sea
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But then that being a man-made lake.
Oh, was it really?
was?
Yeah. Yeah, that was I had to look it up just to confirm, but that was a man-made lake back in the gold rush because they obviously found gold there, but then it was a man-made lake, but that wasn't until, and that was in the 1850s, 1860s, and then in the 1883 is when they constructed the dam to bring the water in for the agriculture up there. Yeah. The first dam held 25,000 acres, 25,000 acre feet of water. But yeah, it was man-made to basically start a population up there. Because there were so many
Weird.
people up there for the gold rush that
Maybe
they're
to
like,
wash
"What-"
gold.
Yeah.
or just to have it be habitable enough for them to like build a town. Because then like shortly after that, they had a school and they started building stores and all that kind of stuff. So that I think the gold up there was so profitable that they brought people up there, and now they're like, well, now let's create a town, but now we need water to be able to utilize. And
Yeah, what do they call those? They're like pop-up towns during the gold rush.
Oh, I don't know.
There's a name for them. I just can't think of what it's called.
it's crazy, these pictures. Like, you would not think this is California.
So speaking
Right.
of California, remember yesterday we were outside and we could smell smoke?
Yeah.
That's not from the California fires. Apparently they're doing controlled burns in Florida
Mm.
because the dry season's coming up.
Yeah.
So they're
because they're smart.
right. They're trying to eliminate.
Yeah. A wildfire from
What
happening.
we just talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the big ones are down by like north of Everglades City, more inland though.
Okay.
So way down.
Yeah, that's that wildfire thing is crazy over there.
Another one, 2 more popped up today.
I saw that. And they arrested some guy, California, some guy on a bike with a spray can and a lighter was lighting people's garbage dumpsters on fire. And they arrested him for arson.
What?
Why would he do that?
I don't
It's
know.
California.
I
You get
mean,
weirdo
what?
people wherever you're.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
It's like he just wanted to start a fire at some point and he saw his opportunity. Like, well, no one's going to catch me. I'm just going to like add a little bit to whatever is happening
Yeah.
already.
Oh my god.
People are so stupid. If someone funded you to live anywhere, where would you live?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Nomad everywhere.
Anywhere in the world?
I'd have to like try places out. So I don't know what it would be like to live in, Italy.
True, you don't want to commit to it
Yeah.
and then be.
And you're like, this
Like,
place
this
actually
sucks.
sucks.
It
How
had to
long
be
would you-
somewhere with a gym, a Walmart, and a Costco.
So you stay right where you're at. No, maybe you move closer to the Costco.
I saw something on Facebook, or I don't know where it's at, but they're building condos and apartments above Costco's.
Oh my god.
Do you have like a fire pole you can just slide down right into
Yeah.
Costco?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
How long would you stay in a place to test it?
Um,
And what would be your first place that you would go? Or what would be like your top 3 places that you would try?
I think you have to go for a year to know a full year of weather, a full year of, being able
Sure.
to go to certain places, see certain things, like sit into it. I don't know. I don't know where. There's so many places.
If you're being
name
funded,
3.
this is a one-time thing. Like spin the globe.
No, someone's like paying for your life to live there.
Yeah,
Wherever it
that
is.
one place. I don't
No.
expect them to be like, hey, try this place. If you don't like it, I'll pay for you to go somewhere else.
But they could. I mean, what's the difference of? I mean, there is because you have to move them.
I guess
but, like,
it'll never happen either way. So make up your.
I'm making my own rules. Dude,
I
the
would-
semantics.
I would try more places in the country before I'd leave the country.
Interesting. Okay, name 3.
Um,
I challenge you. Name 3.
probably Boston, somewhere in Montana, somewhere in Utah or Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
So maybe not Boston, Oklahoma or Utah.
So you're going west. Or mid.
More west, yeah.
More west than we are now. Which can't really
I
go more
would
west.
do western Colorado, like on the western part of the Rockies, or even southern Utah. I would say that's not number. These are no order. Like a U.S. territory, like the Virgin Islands,
Mm.
Okay.
or like St. Martin, something like that. In my third one, I'd say the Florida Keys.
Because of the show we're watching?
I was going to say the last 2, we just come and visit and you have one of those, like you're trying to get the fake braids in your hair with the beads. You just
for
like
the
attach
climate.
it to one of your.
Yeah, the climate.
Yeah.
You know, the water there is beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Virgin Islands.
it's kind of hippie-ish though, so that may be, and then lack of resources.
Yeah, there's no Walmarts down there for you, probably.
Yeah. No.
But
Or
if someone's
Costco.
funding your life, you don't really care what you're spending on those things.
I think I would still,
They get Amazon there probably.
yeah, but I'm not ordering groceries from Amazon.
But you could go to whatever grocery store. You don't care about how expensive it is. You'd still choose
Yeah.
to go to those. You'd still choose to go to Costco if you go to whatever grocery store.
I don't know. I mean,
You're not paying for it.
I know, but I would still be fiscally responsible to that person. What if all of a sudden that dries up?
What if it's not a person and it's a giant corporation?
Oh, well then, yeah.
It's Google.
Yeah.
You did something terrible, and Google's like, we need you to be kind of like, what is it called? Like the,
Exiled.
yeah, so they'll pay for you to leave
Go
your
away.
life. But yeah, you could live in Florida, I guess. It's not really that far away.
I don't know if I would do that. If you had to leave your life,
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. No,
We
I wouldn't
actually
if
talked
someone.
about that on one of our very first podcasts, though, of like the excitement of having to like just pick up and leave everything.
Yes.
This is the chaos thing.
Like if it's like, yeah, not like, it would be like more like us making that decision. Not, well, I mean, kind of, it would be like we're forced upon it because maybe we did something terrible.
Yeah.
They were like, we have to escape
Yep.
and live in a different country and no one knows they're there. We have to like find a different job that's under the radar.
The chaos.
assume a new identity, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Move to Greece. Have
I
a,
wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut about my past.
no.
Oh, really? That'd be
Otherwise,
so.
you'd be lying. Everything you said would be a lie. And
Yeah.
how do you keep lies? You can't keep lies straight that long.
I think
Yeah.
you'd have to create a whole different identity and like commit to that so much that you would start to go crazy with that. Like you would start to believe that's who you are.
Yeah, you'd have.
Like
Yeah,
you
you'd
would
have to like.
completely strip away who you were before and go like, this is who I am. This is my made up backstory. This is where
Yeah.
I grew up. This is my fake family. That you would just like start. You'd almost like have to force yourself to start
You're
to
just
believe
buying
that that's.
picture frames at the store and not taking the family
Yeah.
out of the picture frames.
It's like I'm sure you have to like completely reinvent from, you know, age 0 to where you're at. You have to like create a
Yep.
whole different scenario of what happened.
But who doesn't have pictures of their life?
You couldn't have any. You'd have to burn them.
That's what I'm saying. If you met somebody and be like, this guy has no past.
Well, they'd create it.
Yeah, you make
Like
'em.
Photoshop your own pictures.
Oh, too much work.
Well, you wouldn't do it. Someone else would do it. CIA would do it.
Well, and like it'd be you have to. Not like that's what we were saying. Not that it would be a choice to go do this. Like you did something and you have to, just like the movies.
Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah,
It's a
and
movie.
it never works out in the movies either.
Well, James Bond,
I don't know.
Mission
Give
Impossible.
me the Mission Impossible blinky thing so I'd forget everything. Because your past,
You can't mess up your own.
yeah, your past makes who you are.
That's where you
That's true.
put little truths in it. That way, it's easier to remember the stories and the things.
So yeah,
Because like you could go, well, I played basketball. You did play basketball, but that's not like a detail that's going to unravel everything.
true. I don't know. Just the lying, the deceit, or the
Well, and then if you were single and then you found someone, to not be able to tell them, that would be hard.
yeah.
A person that you're like now gonna marry or like have a life with, and then you just have to be like, I'm lying to you every day. Like people that are spies. You can't tell your family.
I'm realizing that I may be more sinister than this would be so easy to me. It's just that acceptance of like,
This is
this
me
is
now.
it. Like you have to, it has to be new and different now.
I don't
think it
think
would be
that's deceit.
exciting for a while until you developed deep bonds with somebody,
Yeah.
like you were saying. You
But if it
meet-
was just us that, if it was like you and me that had to leave,
Yeah.
if we could stay together,
Oh, it'd be so easy.
well, let's not say it's like so easy walk in the park.
it
like
would be a
going on
lot
vacation.
easier.
Easier, yeah. Be easier. than
Because
when
you have
tell your
somebody to share
kids.
the lies with.
Yeah, because that would probably eat someone up by themselves having to do that. To where at least with us,
Yeah.
we could be like, "This is."
Yeah.
But then we have kids, and you just gotta be like, "This was our life, not."
Maybe there's like a Exile Anonymous place you can go to talk about all your your past.
Where you get to go by your original name
Yeah.
in the group.
It's just you in a soundproof room. With,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think about this stuff?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty weird.
I feel like that's like
Yeah, we already talked about this on a podcast.
I think there's that like
And there's just so many movies and TV shows that you're like, I wonder if this happened to me. Like, what would I do, or how would I do it, or would it be difficult?
well, I think I don't know, maybe no one else, maybe people don't have this, but I think we have this a lot where it's just that idea of like, what if we just left? Like what if we like I don't know, like that when I don't know, it's just like when regular life is just like kind of whatever or stressful and you're just like, what if we just disappeared and didn't tell anybody? It's like you just start to like, would that fix things? Or it's like how many times we move and it seems like that you get like a fresh start, or like things are exciting enough to like completely spark a new pattern
Something, yeah.
that to then force yourself to do that, but then to be secretive about it also, because then you're like, okay, the people that are in my life, if they didn't know about it, then it would be like the ultimate for a little bit like freedom kind of.
Yeah. And excitement, and like, it's like the makes you feel something because there's something on the line. There's a pressure now.
Yeah, but when you guys move, you're not changing your friend groups. I mean, Courtney's, you're still working at a job from Los Angeles when you lived there.
Yeah.
Your job with Dupre hasn't changed since you were 16.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be friends. It's just like a whole different.
You have to set up a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I like routine.
But that's
Yeah.
where you get to like mix up your routine and then start fresh. Like you get to create a new routine. It's like going to a different gym. Like, oh, it's like a different scenery and new people are here and new things to do and new setup. Now you're just doing that with your life. Like new gym, new grocery store, new things that you see when you're driving around, new walking places. It's like everything is fresh.
Overwhelming.
It is easier to do 2 people.
Might be an age thing too,
Oh, for sure.
you know?
Yeah, because do you feel like that's fading out for you?
Obviously, you're still here.
It's fading, yeah. There's still the times where it's like, it still comes up, but it's not as frequently as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I would still try more. I don't know. I don't know if I'd try more places. I'd probably just redo the circle. Go back to California. Go back to Texas. Just keep cycling.
As it's on fire. Go back to the burning state.
Yeah, I think if someone was funding my life, that's probably the first place I would go. But
California.
yeah.
Would you go back to LA?
No, I think I'd go to San Diego. So then it's still different, but it's close enough to what we had. But I did like a lot. I liked it a lot when we visited there. But
Yeah.
it just seems like right now with our life, it just doesn't make sense. But then also, I would want to be able to be in the cool neighborhoods. And so it's like if someone was funding that, okay. But I would want to try out of the country. I do think I would like California a lot to stay there for a while. But different lifetime, different scenario.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you don't have to worry about paying taxes and all that kind of stuff. California's great. But
Weather-wise, yeah.
unless it's on fire and you can't breathe.
Right.
That's the part that I think goes unnoticed a lot is you can't you can't go outside. I mean, you're just breathing in ash right there right now. And it's like even when we had the fires when we were living there, it was terrible. Like you definitely noticed it when you went outside.
Oh yeah, the sky was orange.
And it's
Like you couldn't see the sun.
the air quality is just terrible, and then you're breathing that in, and it's nasty.
It is like apocalyptic looking.
Oh yeah.
Like ash is falling from the sky. You can't see the sky. The sky is orange, but like you can tell it's smoky and gray still at the same time.
Can't
And it's
open
just
your
like-
windows.
No, it's
Nope. Yeah.
It's freaky.
Yeah.
And then I mean, even kind of like how COVID was too, and like no one is out.
Yep.
It's like just deserted roads, and no one's in the grocery stores, and
People lighting dumpsters on fire.
yeah,
And looting. You said that
Yeah,
people are
that's
looting
right.
and stuff too. It's like, yeah. It's crazy. I think that's where they get so weird about when stuff like this happens and they immediately start sounding like the apocalypse alarm because people literally are doing that.
Yep.
All of a sudden now it's a crazy state of people lighting stuff on fire and stealing stuff and breaking into houses and whatever. It's like,
Well, I think that happens naturally if somebody's mentally unstable to begin with, and now something super stressful comes up.
it like trips their trigger kind
People
of.
lose their shit. Yeah, it's like they fall deeper into that. It's just like it's a crisis state now that you go into, and it just exacerbates the mental illness.
So do you
Yeah.
think it's more of that, like it goes into their fight or flight system versus an active choice of, oh, no one's in the stores, I'm going to steal because it's just malicious?
I think that's a choice.
But do you think so you think the looting is the choice, or it's people kind of like they're cracking?
No, I think the looting is opportunist people that are
Okay.
just looking to take advantage of somebody or something else. The whack job guy lighting dumpsters on fire, that may be a crazy guy thing.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Which it's not like they're going to arrest him and put him in
They
jail.
did. They arrested him for arson,
And then they're going to just let him go
probably.
because it's California.
Yeah, like we don't have room for you, guy.
Oh, all you did was light dumpsters on fire? Okay, never mind.
It didn't actually start a new fire. There was already
Yeah.
fires going.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just gets a fine for having a toxic paint can.
Yeah.
That's his.
If you were gonna if you had to do a maybe not like just like a meeting with new police officers coming in, what stories would you tell them to either scare them away from being a cop, and what stories, like your personal stories, would you tell them to like encourage them to do it?
I don't think I would scare them away because the profession right now is just in such a crisis state of getting people to become cops.
Okay.
Like when I applied for Janesville, Black Hawk Technical College, that's where we had our written test. The cafeteria there was 500 people there taking the
wow.
written test. And then if you passed the written test in the afternoon, you went to a high school where you did your physical agility thing. And then if you passed that, you got put into a group. And then it went to the psychological testing, an interview, oral interview. So it just kept getting whittled down. So from 500 people that took the test in my group, 9 of us were hired.
Dang.
Jeez.
Competitive.
Yeah.
What?
Nowadays, there may be 40 people apply and 15 will show up for the written test.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I would tell somebody is mental health, take care of yourself mentally so that you don't get affected, hate your job 20 years, 25 years into it. You don't have divorces and alcoholism and the suicides. Keep your mental health.
And you said that is becoming more prominent, as in like your employers are taking care of that a little bit more, or like seeing the importance of that. Like you said, you're having more debriefing meetings.
They are, yes. Yeah.
Versus
Like,
where you were like, well,
yeah, I mean, they have actually a peer support team now. That it's a group of your fellow officers that if you need to talk to somebody, you call them up, talk to them. It's all confidential. And they are doing the stress debriefings after a serious incident, you know, a death of an infant or a terrible house fire where somebody gets burnt, dies. Bad car accidents, child abuse situations. Those are the worst. When, you know, you've got a child and they've been abused. But even like bad car accidents, they'll do them for that too.
Yeah.
So if that helps keep your sanity, then I'm all for that. Yeah.
Do you think people are like trying to become cops less because of the money, because of the public persona, because of literally the job?
I think it's both. I think it's they can go to the private sector and make way more money, not realizing though that you have a pension.
what is the private, like, what do you mean by that? Like, what jobs are those?
Nursing.
Got it. Okay.
Anything in healthcare or the trades.
Okay.
Plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters, that type of thing, where you're going to get more money right off the bat, but you're not retiring at 53, or in some cases after 20 years. You don't have a pension that you paid 15% of. So, you know, you don't think of those things when you're 22, 23 years old. You don't, retirement, it's like, I just want to get a new car.
Yeah.
I'm sick of driving this used car I've had since high school.
Yeah.
And I want to move out of my parents' house. You know, those are the things you think of when you're that age.
Yeah.
And you don't think of the benefits. Healthcare. How many places don't even offer healthcare anymore?
Yeah.
And you've got to fund your own retirement.
Yeah.
So you're making all this money off the bat more than what you would as a public servant. But how much of that money is going toward your retirement and your healthcare?
Yeah, you better be smart about it.
Yeah,
Like, you
and
better
I
be
think
someone that's doing it yourself.
What the public, I mean, it's like the public image now of what politicians have done with defunding the police and pointing out all the bad apples in the profession. That you have bad apples in any profession.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of any public servant profession, there's good apples, there's bad apples. I think the majority of people are good and they're there for a good purpose and they want to help. But I've worked with several of those people that are just dicks.
Yeah.
Well,
and they shouldn't be cops.
That's every job ever.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like you're just a shitty person, or you're a person that doesn't have the mental capacity to handle whatever attributes come with this job. Like, you could be a great cop, but you can't handle power. Or you could be a great teacher, but you can't handle you can't handle different types of students and different kids. Or maybe you're just not good with kids and you're planning on working with high schoolers and now you're in a kindergarten classroom. It's like,
yeah,
it doesn't mean that everyone in that profession is bad, or that even your training is bad. Like, maybe you need more training, but even that, it's like, no, that guy, you could put him at a boss at Home Depot and he's still going to suck there. Like, you just don't do well with power.
Some people are good players and terrible coaches. Or
Yeah.
you're a good line officer, but now you get promoted, you're not a good leader.
Yeah. And I go, you're the coach of this whole town. How do you
Right.
handle that?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't deter people because of the numbers.
Just because I think it's a noble profession.
Yeah.
And
But would you tell them any? So I guess, like you said, the mental health thing, you would still prompt them to be like, this isn't something to take lightly. This isn't a job to just, well, I have nothing else going on.
Oh,
Let me
no.
just try this.
that's what I did.
Well, okay.
I never wanted to be a cop when I was growing up. I hated cops till I became one.
So was it just like, this is just something I can do?
It was Susie saying, "Go out to the jail, become a CO. It's good. It's good pay, good benefits." I'm like, "All right, I'll try police science classes." Or
Okay.
I took one class. It was an internship, and in that first day of an internship at the sheriff's department, we had a foot pursuit. We were looking for a guy with the warrant, and and I'm just like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
It was just like one of those. This guy was probably buried in paperwork for the next 3 days, but
Yeah.
I had fun.
Right, yeah. And that guy has seen that guy over and
Oh,
over
yeah.
and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming from an athletic childhood, it was like a game. It was a challenge. It was something. It was. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my whole career, that's what it seemed like. It was us versus them. It was how
Yeah.
outthink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't make it seem like it's so fun and it's not serious and it's not hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But
And like you said, pushing the mental strength with that. Well, not even mental strength. Like, it's the staying on top of,
your mental health.
yeah, like you need to be tuning that up as much as you prioritize your health, like physicality, so that you're able to run after people and you're able to be stronger than most of the people that you're maybe taking down or dealing with. You also need to be mentally equipped to not let that affect your job
Right.
and then your home life as well. But because, yeah, that's a job that I'm sure, like, you've already experienced. Like, you retire and the people that are around you, it's not something you can just, well, I'm retired and I never thought about it again. Like, it changes who you are.
Oh, for sure.
To our other jobs, it doesn't have that.
Within
Yeah.
5 years, it changes who you are. That's why they
Yeah.
say the military has it nailed down, where most people do 4 years in the military and they get out before it starts changing who you are as a person and how you see the world and how you see other people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, Rogan even just said it in the last episode with Theo. Like, it's like anything. Like, if you do something every single day, just like a positive habit, you work out every single day, it's going to change how you think. It's going to change how you function in the world. It's going to change, like, your chemical makeup, because it's so ritualistic that now you add it to your job and it's negative experiences. Like, you're getting that daily dose every single day of the shit in your town or the people that you have to deal with or just the negatives of the job, the traumas of the job. Now you're getting that every single day in either large hits or low hits. It's like that. It would be hard for me to think, like, how does that not change that person permanently? But I also think, like what you're saying, like, you have to stay on top of that, of whatever type of therapy you need to do, or just having those debriefings more so that it doesn't hit as much. I don't think you can completely take that away. It's just part of the job and why there are the benefits to it, because it's not even just the danger, but it's how you are affected by it. But I think that's cool that it sounds like they're handling that with more seriousness nowadays.
Yeah.
Cops.
And when I first started, the older guys were the Vietnam era guys. So you
Yeah.
can imagine the shit that they saw, and now they're coming back and becoming cops. So did they get changed in Vietnam when they're 18, 19 years old and then come back and are doing this? Because they were my sergeants, they were my lieutenants, they were the chief. They were the older guys on day shift. that is like debriefing. We're not, it's like, come on.
Yeah. What do
Sure.
we need to talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that was even, at least from what you just hear, like that is the type of what being a man was back in the day too. It's
Ego,
like,
a lot of ego.
it's like, well, a lot of people were either coming from war, or it's just like that wasn't a male trait to talk about things.
No. Mental health was not talked about until what, 10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
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 And these guys also are the group that the average life expectancy after retirement was 18 months.
Holy crap.
So how much did that affect them
Holy
in their
shit.
lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously smoking was way more prevalent back then.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, the drinking was the
Still.
same thing. And
That's still crazy. 18 months, you would think like health wise, even if you smoked and drank the whole time, you'd be able to last 18 months.
but look
That's
at the
crazy.
lifestyle. I mean, look at the things that you did and the things that you saw, and how does that affect you? And
Yep.
High stress. Like you said, probably bad habits, but
Well,
just
and
to
that,
rub some dirt on it and walk away.
if
type
they
of era.
were Vietnam people, I mean, it's literally their entire adult life is just chaos and death and bad situations.
yeah,
It's like that has got to just rot your mind.
Well, especially when you're that young. It's like, especially when it's a male profession, mainly male profession. It's like, I don't think their brains are done developing, especially emotionally, until they're like 34. So it's like from
Is it that old?
18 to a 34-year-old.
I thought it was
screwed.
like 24.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
like
for
25.
females.
Oh,
Male.
She's just trying to slam us. It's like men don't even mature until they're like 50, I guess.
when you start losing hair.
Yeah.
Around age 43.
What?
Well,
No. I don't believe it.
What do you?
You can't just say age 43 and then not also talk about what you're seeing or reading. Oh, yep, age 43. Moving on.
It's crazy that I was spot on.
You said 34.
You said 34.
So it's worse. You're right. It's worse. The brain continues to develop. The prefrontal cortex, which controls judgment, impulse, and inhibition, is still maturing during adolescence. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Here comes a correction.
Yeah.
There are no set age for emotional maturity, and it varies from person to person. However, most brains don't fully develop until around age 25, but
There's no but in there. That's a period. End of sentence. And Facebook wants to get rid of fact check.
I guess it's hard. Like, I don't know. Are they going off of? I would have to look into it more, which
Well,
I'm not going to do now. But
I think that's the
like, is it going off of what part of your brain handles emotional intelligence? Is that the part that doesn't develop until later on?
but that's like what it said. It could never fully develop, or it's always developing. It's emotional intelligence. That's not something that's like your prefrontal cortex is now done. That's
Always evolving.
always evolve. There's a 35-year-old that just witnessed a terrible car accident. Their emotional intelligence or their emotional ability is going to be totally different from then on out.
True. I'm sure this is just like an average, to where that would alter their emotional intelligence, but that's because different wirings are happening. Like, it is still because your brain is developing at a different time. The same way if you take a kid, if you teach them and you work on different actions with them, their brain is going to develop different than a kid that doesn't have those. So you could say, well, that 5-year-old is the equivalent to that 2-year-old because that 2-year-old has been given more tools to develop their brain properly.
Yeah, but I think you're getting away from the conversation being about emotional intelligence. That's now just
But that's
your
still
brain in
part of your
general.
brain functioning, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, but it's so much more fluid than do you know how to pick up a pencil or not, or write your name. Because there's people that just snap. There's people that just, or you have somebody that has not matured emotionally and now they're a guy on a bike arsoning the side of a dumpster.
Yeah, because that guy's brain, something got funky after a while. Like, he's not just like, oh, I feel like I want to do this. Like, well, what's causing him to feel that? The part in his brain is making him like.
Yeah, but my argument
affecting
is
the
it's not
behaviors.
43 years old and now you're good.
We were talking
No.
about brain development, right?
Right. So yeah, you're right. You can't just be,
Development, not changes, not.
well, but development could also be adaptations. Yeah, it could be changes too. I agree. Like, it can't just be like, well, 43, you got it all figured out. That's not
And
the
every
case.
43-year-old's going to be different. But I think there's a difference between the prefrontal cortex fully developing versus your emotional intelligence. That's so vague.
Yeah, two different things. Two different parts of the brain.
It's like, what part of the brain even is handling emotional intelligence? Because the prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain.
Medulla oblongata.
No, that's breathing.
Oh, dang it. Yeah, that's right.
Trivia night.
I know the limbic is your fight, flight, or freeze part. They call it your lizard brain.
It is your limbic system. For controlling emotions, primarily controlling emotions is your limbic system, which includes structures like the oblongata, the hypothalamus. Oh, those two. I'd have to look into it more. I get what you're saying. I think I'm maybe just not explaining it in the way that I'm like.
I think you're just trying to slam males, and I'm
No,
protecting our
I'm not
gender.
trying. I'm not trying to just win
With
an
your
argument.
already developed brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so cool.
See, you can't understand it because I'm complete.
You're not to my level yet.
Talk to me when you're 43.
You should look up female.
But it's like 5.
I hope female's like 50 years old.
I guess what I will look that up, but I think what I'm trying to maybe try to question myself too is, but it's still a function of the brain. So because like, why are they saying 25 is when our brains are close to being developed? It's because like there is a function of when you're around this age, or hormonally, this is when this changes this, and then that develops that part of your brain, or you're able to do just like a kid. You're now able to walk, so that is going to start chiseling a part of your brain that's different before you were able to walk. So then now that opens up a new lane of abilities because that part of your brain is now stronger. That would be the same for adults. Yes, you might have we all have different experiences that are going to shape our opinions on things and how we live and act, but it still would come back to, is that part of your brain and the ability to develop at that time, is that available to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never have heard the 43 years old thing, and I don't understand how that comes up, but then also 25 years old comes up.
Given that researchers have concluded that men reach full emotional maturity between age 40 and 43, while women reach
That's
Emotional.
emotional maturity
maturity
between age 30 and 32. The brain controls all body functions. The prefrontal cortex is part of the brain that controls maturity.
But what I mean,
Maturity is
again, that's
not
so
brain
vague.
development.
Who is deciding what's emotionally mature?
Signs of emotional maturity. Being empathetic, being able to recognize and share your feelings, being able, well, that's also so
This is all like
bias
and what
That's
you
bias.
think.
Yeah, that's bias.
This has been my argument the whole time. So it's like, who is just choosing that? Oh, emotional maturity that happens at 43 years old for males. Like what?
So maybe it's more our brains, or that part of your brain should be fully developed from 30 to 32, 40 to 42, but it's how you utilize that. Same way, it's like, it's developed, but are you using the skills that your brain is giving you, kind of, or the ability?
Well, I'd like to know what the measurements of emotional maturity is.
It's
Well, that's what it
opinions.
is. It's those bunch of
Yeah.
opinions.
It's a bunch of opinions. So it's like, oh, this data doesn't matter. It's like, we all know 43-year-olds that are not emotionally mature.
True.
There's 20-year-olds that are more emotionally mature than some 40-year-olds. Go on Facebook. You'll see it. Go on any social media platform. There's a ton of 40-year-old people that are completely lost.
Yeah. You're right. I take it back. I withdraw my statement.
No, you just were lied to.
You're right. Take the blame off me.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
You just picked the wrong Google result.
That's just such a vague. I don't know. That's not like what's the average age of a male's physical development. Like that has measurements and things that you can actually go off of. Emotional maturity, that's
always changing, I think.
yeah, totally. I mean, especially look at the times. Like all these
well, that's true.
new stuff comes up and we have to now be a certain way with certain situations like that we didn't have to be 10 years ago. It's like that is now emotional maturity of having to figure that out and deal with that. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or you're 60.
Sure. Well, maybe just also the bar is different. Like you said, the people on Facebook, like those are 50, 60-year-olds. That would not have happened 10 years ago, 50, 60-year-old, maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be acting like that. But like that is more normal now because the bar for, like you said, emotional intelligence or awareness or just behavior is lower. We expect less.
Maybe
people.
that is new data because of now. It used to be 25, now it's 43 because we see all of the.
I mean, that's what they're doing with like child standards.
Yeah,
like when you would go to a doctor with us as kids and you're just like, well, they're this age, they should be doing this.
You're in the 60th percentile or the 100th percentile.
They're like those numbers and those stats of when kids are supposed to be doing that are like so different now.
Yeah.
Like they took crawling out as one of developmental things. Like if that doesn't crawl, it's fine. Like what? So kids are just like fumbling around.
Yeah, they just move the bar, set a new standard that more people can achieve it, and just make it weaker and weaker and weaker.
Kind of a good segue into the doctor.
So 3 weeks ago, when I brought up a topic that I wanted to talk about, and we never talked about it, you should just do like several episodes ago flashback. And I'm like, I want to talk about this next episode. 4 months later, I talk about it. I wanted to talk about, because you're also seeing what is his like title, the guy that you're seeing?
He's a doctor.
So it is, okay, so just a regular doctor. I think that's going to be my prediction into the future. I think that's going to be becoming more of a mainstream. I shouldn't say mainstream. I think it's going to be 15 years before it's mainstream, but I do think more people are going to start to go the route that you are, not just with the because that's not just like basic health.
The only difference between what I'm doing now and going to a normal clinic is this guy does not accept insurance. He's still just a medical doctor.
Out of pocket, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like my lab tests going through insurance were $200 out of pocket. This guy was $35 because he doesn't go through insurance, so you don't have to jack the prices up to, and he has his own clinic. Like him and like several other doctors have these clinics around. This is not a men's health clinic or what are they called? Like
that's what I'm saying. It's not like an elective type of.
What do they call those places?
Like, could you still get a physical from him?
For sure, yeah.
So like a kid for sports could go there and get a physical.
Yes.
I think that's going to become more of the way people go with their health. Is they're not going to necessarily do the insurance and then go through. I mean, I think you still probably have to do that for a while because, like, what if your kid breaks a bone or something? But I think those doctors are going to start to be able to handle more care and have x-ray machines and being able to prescribe medication easier. Like, I bet we will start to see the trend go to people are going to these, what would you call it? Like, independent doctors,
something like that,
because one, it might even be cheaper. I think you're gonna have less of that scheminess going along with it because you're not crazy charging them. It's like, oh, you just see this is the office and you're paying them like you would a massage therapist or a chiropractor or a personal trainer. I think that's going to happen because of the price. I think you're going to see that you can get more things done that your doctor will not really allow you or push you away from doing, like the labs. You can't really get a lot of those labs in regular doctors because they don't want you to be able to figure that stuff out. And I think you're going to see those types of doctors working with other professions. Like, I think you're going to see them collaborate with chiropractors or with personal trainers or with PT people so that your health is going to start to become more holistic.
I don't know. I think you're right to a certain point, but do they have an endocrinologist that they work with? Do they have a urologist that they work with? Do they have an OB doctor that they work with? That it's like your specific fields. Do they have that within their network?
Yeah, that might be something that we're at the beginning stages and they have to grow to that. Because what's the financial incentive for those doctors too? It's like they're probably able to get paid way more at the big hospitals versus you go hook up with some independent guy and it's like he's not seeing as many patients or they don't have, as many people coming in for those specific type of treatments and stuff like that.
I see this office that I go to now as kind of a maintenance doctor. Like, you'll go there for your kid's high school physical. You'll go there for, I don't know, I'm a diabetic and I need medications. So he can test your A1C every 6 months or 3 months and change your metformin or semaglutides, that type of thing. But
if you have like a serious problem, you're not going to be going to that.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. Yeah, which, I think that's what the hospitals probably do the best is urgent emergencies and stuff like that.
And your expensive MRI machines and, those type of the CAT scan type things were big buck equipment.
I think it's two different lines of medicine. Like, the mainstream hospitals are going to be you're already too far down the line, now you need help, to where I think the independent doctors, that is a completely different lane of this is all, again, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like,
a la carte.
No, like you're I just had it. That's why I said it.
Holistic?
No, like you're setting yourself up to not have those things.
Preventative?
Preventative. It's preventative care to where you are going to get the labs done. You're going to be able to avoid needing the CT scan. Because when you're 30 years old and you're 40 years old, you're going to have consistent checkups where you're running all these labs to see, oh, cancer might be in the mix coming up, or you have high cholesterol. We need to stop that before it's too big of a problem. To where most people, they don't know that those things are happening until it's too late, until it's a problem. And now they need that type of care where it's like, we need it now. We need to be on medication and we need all these things to help us just maintain and be functional. To where I hope with also like the Casey Means type of people that we're shining a light on how dysfunctional that way of doing health is. Granted, I still think like what you have said with us, like we're still in a niche group of people, but I hope that starts to become more mainstream to where people are looking at their health through the preventative side versus emergency. Now we need to clean up the mess that we made.
I think this doctor, though, doesn't have to have insurance's approval to do things. If I'm not going through insurance, it's like, well, the endocrinologist won't see you until your levels are this low. So I can't even refer you to an endocrinologist.
It's all this red
until
tape.
It is cleanup.
Yeah. So it's, he's like, well, I don't have to go through insurance. So this is what is best for you.
Yeah.
You're still dealing with a doctor that is looking at a specific thing, though, I think. Like, is the diabetic doctor, you go to this doctor, is he treating your diabetes or is he treating your fatty liver and your insulin resistance? Or is he just saying, cut down on, carbs and, don't eat so much red meat, giving you the wrong information? Because his education is still the same as what a doctor in the hospital is. This guy came from a hospital, an ER.
Right. Yeah, their education is like like you said, this person treats diabetes, so these are the things that they were taught. So then their nutrition advice isn't really
No, let's go see
on par.
nutritionists.
Yeah. So then you go see a nutritionist and they have no idea what's going on with the diabetic side of it. They just are like, well, just eat these things and you should be fine.
But even that's what I hope adjusts. Because like you'll see that in any field. It's like you'll have your very basic teacher or your very personal training where it's like they can just go to an Anytime Fitness and they're going to give them the workout that they need to do, but they maybe don't have the education. That person would never get hired at a different gym where those clients are expecting a little bit deeper of knowledge. It's like you go to like any of the guys on Mind Pump. They're not going to work at an Anytime Fitness and they're not going to hire someone that would be training like that. So I would think those doctors, you have to have a different approach to health. You are going to be in the niche group of people when you focus on diabetes. Like you're coming into it with an understanding of whatever we're doing over there is not working. We want to be on the preventative side. So whether you're getting different types of training or you're just educating yourself, I don't think those types of facilities, the more independent ones, I don't think they would even hire those people that only have that generic understanding of it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think I think the problem though is it starts at school, what they're learning at school. And then they get hired and then maybe they get lucky with, someone that's independent and that person can teach them, better ways to do it or give them more information that they weren't taught in school or whatever. That's like, you need to change the school system to.
You're not getting out of medical school and going to an independent place when you've got $300,000-$400,000 in student debt.
Right, that too.
You're going to the hospital where they're going to pay you a bunch of money to get out of debt. And then by that time, do you get
too brainwashed
or just set in your ways? Yeah, like this is how we do things.
Yeah. I think too, not only like the school system, the hospitals, and all the insurance companies are going to fight like hell to make sure that these independent people can't survive.
Yeah.
Like these independent people, I mean, we were listening to one guy on Tucker and he was talking about how difficult it is being independent and not accepting insurance and what that means for the customer and what that means for him and how he has to pay and go through the loops and like all of the shit that comes with that. And if you do it just a little bit wrong, those insurance companies will just be like, nope, we're not doing this. So
we're not paying you.
We're not paying you. And it's like, there's so much red tape and so much bullshit that even going to the independent thing, you have to walk a fine line with it in order to be successful from the sounds of it. That's like, I think it's still a ways away until that becomes good, if it ever does, because those insurance companies and hospitals are not going to just let these people do what they want to do. Everything's so tied up into them.
Yeah.
It would have to be, again, like the market changes the behaviors. The market changes it's like, as the clients, they would have to start to see a lot of people coming to their independent facilities to show like, oh, we can stay afloat with the people that we have because we have a constant stream of people coming in.
Yeah.
To make it worth it.
So much of it is dependent on the consumer. But that's the other problem is you have to have the consumer start to want to do preventative care. We're at 74% of the population is overweight. I don't think we're on our way to people wanting to do preventative care.
Yeah. That'll take generations to outweigh.
We were talking about this with the RFK coming in and the Elon and the Vivek things coming in. Is it such a huge machine that they have a chance in hell of making a dent even?
Right. Yeah.
In 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the scary part of it, is it's like, even if they could do good, even if they have all of the best intentions and all of the right motives or they have all the right decisions, will they even be allowed to do anything?
Right.
And like you said, even if they can then do something, will it even make a dent? Because as soon as all of them are gone, we're probably just back to square one.
Maybe this is step one
Might
of
be.
just getting awareness to people that, the Casey and Callie Means type people and that guy we saw in Tucker and RFK, just getting their word out there, making people just think about it. Maybe that's step one, is just Yeah, maybe I'm being lied to, or maybe it's all about money and not my health.
That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. Is maybe it's hopeful thinking, but is it not to be in there to completely change the system, but just to plant the seed for people?
Yeah.
Of like making the questions happen, or like having their just like awareness to look into it themselves. Granted, I think majority of the population, they're just going to keep doing what they do, and they are maybe too stuck in their ways, or it's a financial thing of they think this way of living is cheaper for some reason. But it could be just planting the seed to then, okay, well, now I'm going to it's like our generation of thing. We talk about this all the time. I think why we don't watch the news is because we grew up hearing they lied to you, they lied to you, everyone's trying to scheme you out of something, that we're going into the healthcare system, or we're going into a doctor's appointment going, what are they going to try to trick us with? It's like we're going into everything with going to the grocery store and the food system, and we're like reading everything and what's being put into things because we're thinking they're just trying to poison us at every turn. That was just because seeds were planted in us to start thinking that way. Now, how do you do that on a mass scale? Could this be that? Of
Yeah.
just like, hey, people are trying to screw you over and kill you.
I think that's also the route you guys heard this growing up, and you didn't get caught up in the college brainwashing
Well,
and the going to get a corporate job somewhere and the
Brainwashing there.
brainwashing and the whole insurance thing. You never got caught up into that stuff. That's why I wonder if you guys, compared to Kara, who went to nursing school, works for a hospital. Every time something is off, I've got an ache or pain here. It's, oh my God, I've got stage 3 cancer. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, here, take this for 7 days. And okay,
It'll go
that's
away.
what the doctor said.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think we think like how most people do when you go to buy a car. The car salesman thing. You're like, okay, where is he going to try to trick me? Well, here are all the little things that he's going to try to trap me in. Like, I can't say this because if I say this, then he knows that I'm trying to get this payment, and then now he's going to work me that way. Like, we do that with health.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, this person said this, but why did they say that? What's their background? Or
critical thinking.
what is the implication of, okay, so if we all did this, what then happens with that? Oh, this company makes a whole bunch of money. Oh, weird. Why is that? Why would he want that company to make a whole bunch of money? Oh, he's getting paid by that. It's just, we're tearing it all apart because we don't want to get screwed on a deal. That the health thing for majority of the population, I don't know if it's so confusing. It's
work.
It's so much work. It's overwhelming. That's like, and then we have this affinity for doctors that they're all just the best people and they went through the hardest schooling. They're all really smart. And it's like, there's a lot of shitty doctors. There's a lot of doctors that got C's and now they're a doctor. And
even if they're really smart, it's what they were taught. It's
who finances the curriculum? Pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who, the government, the FDA.
Yeah.
It's like you can't blame them for them just learning crazy stuff. Or it's like they're a business.
To where then they go, well, I went to school and I learned this stuff at school. I didn't even learn it. And then it's that. It's like, well, but your curriculums are all made by I always say that. Pharmaceutical companies.
Same.
And FDA and all this kind of stuff. Is like you were basically pigeonholed or like told to go this direction and you didn't even know it. And
Right.
now you're down this whole rabbit hole and we're trying to show you that this stuff doesn't make any sense. And it's like, no, of course it does. I learned this in school. This is what we practice at the thing. Every other doctor you talk to will say the same thing. It's like, yeah, because you're a cult.
Well, it's like same thing with school teachers. It's like if they are teaching them these new ways of teaching, they're teaching them in history books that they're changing history so that it's more PC.
Yeah.
Why would a 19-year-old learning how to be in education, go, well, that doesn't make any sense? Or like you're a kid growing up and you're reading this stuff in your history books that whatever lady that they're trying to say was a lesbian.
Yeah.
Why would you think
Pocahontas is now a lesbian.
Yeah, why would you think, oh, I should question that?
Right.
Why would you think that?
Because why would somebody lie
Why would you need
about
to
that?
fact check what you're learning at school?
Yeah.
What 12-year-old is going to do that? And then you grow up and you go to college to be a teacher. You're going, well, yeah, I learned that in school, so now I'm going to teach that the same. It's
Yep.
like now you have generations of confusion.
Wait, didn't Pocahontas hook up with the guy that John Smith guy or the guy that came to the island?
But we don't say that anymore, or don't tell kids that anymore because it's a white, powerful man. So now she's a lesbian.
Yeah, they're just making shit up. They're just lying and saying.
And they're not. I don't know if this is for sure if they followed through with this, but like I don't think they're teaching slavery anymore. Like they're like basically just like we're gonna say that didn't happen
Wow.
because we don't want it to like insinuate or teach that at one point we had a problem with them. That's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna be rough.
So they're just like not gonna teach it. I don't know if that's true. Don't hold me to that, but
Well,
I think that was something in the mix that they were talking about taking out
Yeah, which it's like
because it conditions kids to think that way somehow.
which we've always been told. Know history so that you don't repeat it. Like history repeats itself, and it's like so know what happened. That way we don't make the same mistakes. And it's like we're just gonna get rid of it all. Like this,
We're making it
all
fiction.
this is gonna happen then again.
Right.
Because nobody's learning from it. Because you want to be PC and not hurt people's feelings rather than tell the truth and become more resilient of this is the truth. You have to deal with that and accept that. And here we go.
Is that
Yeah.
going to sound like a mosquito?
Yeah. Yeah. All of that stuff is a mess. All of it. But I think you're right of more people are talking about it that maybe then something changes. Because I do think if the consumer wants this, that's where everything starts to turn to. If the consumer doesn't want it, they start to turn away from it.
But what the consumer wants is I want it right now.
Well,
I want to have abs for spring break, so I'm going to take this GLP-1
Yep.
and have abs for spring break. And then I don't give a shit what happens after that. I'm going to stop taking it and eat and drink whatever I want.
Yeah.
Everything is wanting it right now. That's our society now.
Yeah.
So are people going to take the time to avoid going to the McDonald's drive-thru and actually go home and cook a meal, unprocessed food?
No.
My guess is majority no.
We've gone to the convenience era that would be super hard to break out of. But I think the only way too is
To scare people enough.
well, yeah, I mean it's like having the conversations about it, listening to other people have the conversations about it, like talking about it more and more and more. I mean, how long did it take for us to figure out, all the like RFK posting a video of all of your favorite foods having this certain dye in it and this and that and what that causes, and it's like now that's a big uproar, and it's like that has been here for so long, but some prominent figure that has a lot of people listening to him says it, and now it's off and running. It's like, okay, hopefully this makes some change now, that whether it's they don't even have the option or you do
Consumer, you're just choosing different options.
you're about to go through McDonald's, or you do go through McDonald's, you go, I maybe really shouldn't do this anymore because all that stuff I've been hearing. And that maybe takes 10, 15, 20 times for you to finally go like, okay, no, I'm going to try to cook some at home. Which is why we talk about it all the time of like, we get that cold turkey is hard, just stopping and do the right thing. But that seems more realistic to slowly transition yourself into the next thing. So I think there's probably going to be a lot of that happening rather than it just be this abrupt change. But that's going to take a while. It's going to take multiple years for people to stop giving these giant corporations their money that are poisoning them.
Yeah, look at the cigarette thing. How long that took to people to realize that it's not healthy for you.
Yeah.
And then ads are taken out of magazines and ads are taken off TV and
Can't smoke in diners or
warning labels
bars.
put on the packs and no smoking in restaurants or in bars and that was a generational change.
Yeah.
And then those companies went into the fast food industry in the processed food industry. And now instead of everybody smoking
Wait,
cigarettes,
this is way more addicting than the cigarettes.
we're all just eating processed food, and 74% of people are overweight.
Yeah.
It's like the same companies that did
But
that.
being obese now has changed. It's like, 20 pounds overweight is no longer obese or whatever the number
Yeah.
was. Now it's 40 pounds.
Yeah.
You're not pre-diabetic until your A1C is 5.7, where it used to be 5.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, plus
just
size
moving it.
models are on swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated.
Body positivity.
Body positive. Yeah. Look at your mannequins in stores. You go
Yeah.
to Kohl's and there's plus size mannequins.
You just make it the new
Norm.
and new, like, what this should be.
What's acceptable?
Yeah, and what's unacceptable. It's like you're shunned for being healthy now.
Yeah, because it's racist.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
Didn't they say, was it racist or socio-racist? Like, because if you can't afford a gym membership, that's not on you.
Oh, right.
It's like you're rich because you can afford a gym membership. It's like, I think Planet Fitness is like $15 a month.
Yeah. And also, you can run and lose weight.
Yeah, go
You
outside
It's
can
and
like,
walk.
go outside and go on a walk.
Yeah.
Walk around we have a studio apartment. Walk around your apartment.
You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You can do squats. You can do a whole bunch of stuff without a gym membership. But you're racist because you have a floor.
Yeah.
You have time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, look at people in prison.
You have
They
time to
get
do
in
that.
shape.
You
They're
have,
eating the shit.
you have time to do that. You have time to comment on this video.
Yeah,
Like,
you
what
could
are
have
you
done.
talking about?
You could have done a set of squats while you did
Yeah.
that.
Instead of commenting on the video or the post, you could have done some squats.
Could have did it while you're commenting on the post.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Seems like you're inefficient.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
I think it starts with planting the seed, and then it has to start just like behaviors and like the safety of our society. Like, it has to happen at home. Like, clean up your bedroom before you start pushing it out. I think you have to. What are you doing? What are your behaviors? What are your spending habits? What are you spending your money on? And then what are your kids seeing in the house? Like, if they're seeing, oh, well, we just run through McDonald's because you didn't want to cook, or like having the convenience so prevalent, now they don't know any different.
Oh, yeah. They don't even know that that's like weakness.
Yeah.
They don't even know that that's you not, I don't know, like you doing something better than what you could be doing. They just think this is what it is now. So then they grow up and it's like, well, we just always went to McDonald's, or we just always got these foods at the grocery store or whatever. There's no, like, maybe I should do something better.
To where, like, how many generations ago, like, you would eat maybe food as, like, you'd eat dinner at home as a family.
No, we didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
We did McDonald's.
When you were growing up too?
You grew up the same way I grew
Well,
up.
Oh, okay. Well, we fucked up.
But yeah, I
But
mean,
like, usually, I think
even
that
before
was,
that, I mean,
granted, you'd have a mom that was traditionally just at home, so she could get dinner ready. She wasn't picking up the kids from school, picking up this kid from this school, taking them to this practice, dropping this one off at this practice, somehow eating in the mix with doing homework. It's like, I think we're also a very fast moving society that was not happening back in the day when families could eat dinner together.
yeah.
Like, we
Well,
are go now, and we're pushing that, which I don't think is a bad thing. But
Like Grandpa and Grandma, that's how they grew up.
yeah, like, that was, you weren't,
Dinner at 6:00, and
yeah, and everyone ate as a
everybody
family.
sat around the table and ate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as society's picked up and gone faster and faster, it's like, you got to keep up or make the sacrifices. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, you got to take
Which
your
is
kid
hard.
to this, do this, do that. It's like, well, you got to start meal prepping then, or you're picking the kid up from practice and you're coming home and you're making dinner. It doesn't matter if you're tired or not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard adjustment.
Because
It's like you're making it, for people, you're basically telling them, like, you need to do more.
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's just what it is. And don't bitch about being overweight, because you're not doing the shit that you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why, like, I think the culture of, it's the Joe Rogan culture, but like, choosing to do things that are difficult. And I think people make fun of that, where they're like, what's a cold plunge going to do? Like, what's a going and working out going to do? How is that going to affect how you are as a person or your behavior? It's like, yeah, but when everything we do is easy and everything that we can get is like trying to just make it easier and easier for us to obtain, or instant gratification, or how can I cook dinner the quickest or get in shape the quickest or the easiest? We're at that point where, yes, going into a freaking cold plunge is changing our behaviors. Like, that's how I'm trying to choose
That's
a
how
different word,
extreme
but like,
it needs to be for people
yes.
to start to do stuff.
Like, that's how low the bar is.
Which it's like the cold plunge and the supplements and that stuff. It's like that's gonna do 1 or 2% for you. You need to stop eating bullshit, and you need to go exercise. It's like these people that are cold plunging that don't eat healthy and don't exercise. It's like this isn't doing anything for you. You're getting cold and then you're getting out.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting healthier because you're doing that. You need to be doing all of these other things first. You want something hard and challenging to do? Make your fucking meal at home. You can't even do that. It's like,
well, it's something simple. Like,
but it's because cold plunge takes 3 minutes and then you're done.
Sure.
Cooking a meal is an hour. It's like, well.
So for the average person sitting on their couch, I think diet is by far the most important thing over working out, cold plunge. If you can start with diet, just
do you think that's the biggest mover?
For sure. For somebody that's sedentary, that does not do anything except complain about being overweight or skinny, whatever it is, I'd say diet
anti-skinny.
is huh?
That's what we're calling fat people, anti-skinny.
I think the diet thing, just eating whole foods, would do so much more for them. And then it's like, well, now I lost all this weight. Now I want to start getting toned up or whatever. That's most people say. I just want to get toned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's diet because there's plenty of people that don't exercise that much at all, and it's diet alone for them keeps them at a proper weight
and healthy.
Yeah.
And like what you said of well, then I got to pay for a gym membership. It's like you're already paying for food. You're already eating. Like, it's a function that you don't have to add. Towards, like, if you start working out, now you got to pay for a gym membership. Now you got to drive to the gym. Now you got to like figure out what you're going to do at the gym. It's like, well, you already have to eat. You already have to go to the grocery store and get those foods. So now just get better foods. You'll also realize it's cheaper than what you're purchasing.
Yeah.
It's like, so not only will you probably save money from the jump, but it'll also teach you that cooking your food or doing the things that will challenge your behavior to make things more difficult will just make you a more well-rounded and resilient person. But that's something very like grandparent generation. They couldn't put something in the microwave.
Right.
You want something, you're warming it up on the stove.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe that doesn't seem that dramatic, but like unplug your microwave for a week and see how just like it's 2% harder. So now you have to like make yourself do that. We have cast iron pans because it's just a little bit harder. We have a percolator for a coffee maker. Like, we are making these decisions so that it is just a little bit harder to do all of these things. And then when it just becomes normal, like, our kids will see that's how we function. That you're not going to just choose the easier way out, or you're not going to choose the containers that's like, well, this is plastic because it's just the easiest one to close the lid and you have to use a freaking aluminum foil that I hate to use. Like, yeah, because it's easier to do that. So we're going to go, what's the harder way to do this, and do that. Granted, we're not starting a fire and cooking our food. Maybe we got to that point.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's a
We're still using a stove that you just have to do this.
I think that's a good positive that comes from it. That's not the reasons why I wanted to do that. Is health reasons. All the cancer pans and the plastic coffee things that your coffee's running through and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's my main reason for that. It wasn't to make things more difficult. It turns out it's a little bit more difficult to deal with those things, but it's just like anything. It becomes a routine and you get used to it, and it's no big deal now. But it's so inconvenient just cooking alone for people and making food alone that you have to get over
The work.
the
That it
work
sucks.
and the
Yeah.
the convenience factor of it. If it was easier to be healthier, everybody would do it. But it's because it's
Yeah.
more difficult. And that's just, you have to know that it's more difficult. So now you have to deal with that. It's not going to be, and that's where all these people try to find these hacks of this recipe or this type of food or this diet or these, cooking utensils and things and whatever. There's always those. And same with the exercise. Let me do this program. It's only 5 minutes a day and you're supposed to get abs from it and whatever. They're trying to bring the convenience into that world and it just continues to rejecting. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You can't be healthy doing the convenience stuff.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I agree with the diet. If you're going to change one thing, because it changes so many other things because of
So
that.
now break that down. Within diet, what's the first thing? The most important thing within diet?
I would say
Zero soda.
I would say if there's
First starters. Let's not say the most important. Let's say day one.
Day one,
If you just pick one facet.
how big can the facet be?
Yeah.
Well,
Because day one, I'm going like, no more processed food. So you're eating
or
fruits.
50% of your, like, cut it down by 50%.
Sure, if you want to be.
Wimpy about
we're
it.
talking about that person who is just
That is a main.
brand new. We're talking about grandpa and grandma.
Well, see,
Because
this
you don't
is
want to
where
overburden them because they're going to be like, screw it, I'm not doing this. Do you go cold turkey, change everything day one? Or do you go, I'm going to ease into this, and when I start seeing progress, because I will if I'm doing certain things, then I'll get the buy-in then.
I think it would depend on, like, I would ask them what they want to do, cold turkey or slow progression into it. It would also depend on the age, because for grandpa and grandma, I don't think diet is the most important. I think exercise is the most important.
Yeah. So just pick that type of person, though, who's 25, 35. That mentality
Yeah.
of I buy into everything that the government and the food places try to sell me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I would have to know how quickly they want to go, because I would say no processed food. Whole natural
Or do
foods.
you say, hey, only go out to eat twice a week this week instead of 5 times?
This is where I think I'm changing, because I would go, we can do my advice around this is changing. We can do we progress you into it, but just so you know, that won't work. You're not going to get there. The only way to do this is to be done with it and move on. You have to have a
Shock and awe.
You have to have a personality change and death of that person's now gone. They don't eat processed food and they don't go to McDonald's and they don't do all that stuff anymore. And you're a new person now and you're doing this.
I mean, that's what I did. And it sucked. Because number one, I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know what I could eat. So all I just ate was chicken breasts. And then on top of that, the changes your body makes. It's like the headaches that you get from not having sugar and just being hungry all the time because you're not getting all that filler food in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't even know what real hunger is versus just, I mean, there's probably some of it where you're literally eating less calories, so your body is hungry, but knowing that that's okay, we're reestablishing something
like they say,
here for you.
You can't, getting filled up on protein is way easier than it is than fast food.
Yeah.
Which I
And
think
then you're
processed food.
hungry 20 minutes later, or think you're hungry 20 minutes later and
Right.
want more processed food.
There were just a lot of body changes that I went through that I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was happening.
that you almost can't. And I'm going to give maybe different advice than that. I am going to give different advice than that, just to give a different approach. But you can't get those experiences unless you go that extreme. It's like, that's, I think, what would maybe push people into wanting to do it or keep doing it is because they would see dropping weight that fast. They would see their skin start to look younger fast. They would start to see the positives. It would maybe crazy other changes, like maybe you're noticing the headaches, maybe you're noticing that you're sleeping different or your
bowel
cravings
movements are different.
Yeah,
or,
that I think that would scare people a little bit, but I do think that they would see change, and that's enough for people to get bought in.
I didn't see the weight loss or the clearer skin though. I didn't, because you see yourself every day. You just don't realize it until you said that in a picture about here was in LA at the beach compared to now. And I was like, holy crap, that's really noticeable. But when you look at yourself every day,
Yeah.
you don't notice the changes.
Yeah. I think I would approach it like you're trying to create a habit. So like if you were doing like a new workout routine, same thing. I would say, okay, say pick a number of days during the week that you're going to cook and choose the easiest days in your schedule. So like if you're a parent that has kids running around doing that, are there 2 days out of the week where your schedule is a little bit less crazy? And I would decide that not just, oh, let's just do 2 days a week. Figure out, is that Tuesday, Wednesday? What are the exact days? And then you are cooking at home, and those days are the non-processed days. So anything that has an ingredient list, you're not eating it. So that's what I mean by, I guess, like Whole Foods. It's not, well, it's in a bag and I can see what else is in there. It's like, no, it's just meat. It's just broccoli. It's just whatever.
So, sorry, but I'm going to come back to that when you're done about the labels.
Okay. That figuring out how you can, even just to show yourself that you can cook. How many people don't have any confidence in that, don't know what to cook, don't know what their family likes, their family's eating habits. Like the amount of times where you'll cook something and you realize like, oh, my kids are maybe pickier eaters than I thought. Or they don't like this. Or they like helping cook. So now they can be a part of the process. Or it's a whole family thing that you figure out, oh, we kind of suck at this. So we need to be adjusting this. And you work on it 2 days out of the week. And you're already doing it on a day that you know is a little bit easier for you. You're not rushing back home and then rushing into the next sports activity that's going to be the hardest time for you to try to pick up a new habit. And you stay consistent with that until it feels comfortable. And then you add the third day of the week. You just keep progressing it so that it's becoming more and more of your system. But starting with the basics of Whole Foods, you're cooking it, and you're doing it consistently that it becomes just muscle memory in your schedule.
Yeah. And I think what Chaney touched on with the meal prepping is huge. I mean, it's like, then you don't have to cook at all for 3 nights a week. You just have to warm it up.
Yeah.
That was huge for me, was cooking a bunch of different things. Although at the time, I thought I was eating healthy by having the frozen chicken in the bag that's, you just throw it on the grill, and eating rice. I was eating brown rice, and I thought, oh, brown rice is healthier than white enriched rice.
It's not Ben Greenfield, the orange bag rice.
It is healthier.
Yeah, Uncle Ben's.
Uncle Ben's rice.
Yeah, the one that's already cooked. You just microwave it for 2 minutes
90
or 90 seconds. It's like, I think that's a huge thing for people, is they think they're eating healthy, but because there's like, oh, it's keto friendly or it's low fat. And that's where it comes back to that whole label of ingredients.
It's like, remember when we got the Brussels sprouts at your house, the frozen bag of Brussels sprouts, and there's sugar in it?
Yeah.
It's like, how many people, you have to start looking at the back of the packages. If you have to get a packaged thing. Like, we get nuts.
And you have to look at the labels for that, for sure.
It's like, we have to go in the baking aisle to get the nuts because every nut in the freaking nut aisle has seed oils in it, sunflower oils in it, extra like salts and whatever. It's like, add that afterwards, not the oils, but add the seasoning afterwards if you want.
I think that's how they roast them.
Yeah, it's like, don't roast them.
Almost
Don't
all
get
of them
'em
are roasted and whatever too.
Yeah.
Like, then you're gonna have a bunch of oils on it.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, hard to
like-
find a peanut butter that's just peanuts. Yeah.
So what do you say about the ingredients? What are you gonna say about the ingredients?
I love that, where, and you guys have talked about this before, it's like, if it has an ingredient label on it, it's not processed, or it's
Most likely processed.
most likely processed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people that think they're eating healthy, that's such a key thing to think
Are you
about when
actually?
when you're going to be eating unprocessed food. It's like that's one thing you have to know. If it says anything other than what you're eating, apple. And I guess you can't even say apples because what's on the cover, it's all waxy shit on the outside of it.
But that's even like going down. We're not even saying for people to go down that rabbit hole. Because, I mean, yes, you could go, okay, well, also you get the apple, but scrape the wax off, or where are you
yeah.
getting it from? It's like,
Herbicides, pesticides
you
on
could
everything.
still go, okay, well, there's more to that. But when you're eating,
starting this out.
yeah, the apple's going to be fine.
Yeah. If it has a label and anything other than what you're eating is on there, it's processed.
Yes.
Yeah, if most of what you're eating is coming out of bags and boxes and stuff, you're probably not doing it right. It should be the outside of the grocery store. You're grabbing the loose apples, the broccolis, all that kind of stuff. It's
Not pre-cut up.
not pre-cut up and pre-seasoned and all that kind of stuff. Because it's like if you're, well, I got this healthy cereal and this healthy granola and this, healthy yogurt and this healthy this and healthy that. It's like, and it's all packages and cartons and all this type of shit. It's like, well, you're eating a lot of processed stuff that you're getting a bunch of filler shit that doesn't need to be in there.
And I think with going at the convenience thing of the meal prepping, I think is a good idea, but I think that's even would be too overwhelming for people because now you're like, I hate to cook. Now I got to cook a shit ton.
But it's one time rather than every day.
It's one time, but I think the forcing yourself to cook those 2 days and actually cooking it is the behavior that you need to get into. I think eventually if you find a day that you can cook all your stuff, cool. And if you can have if you have your kids help you, even better, because then they're a part of the process and they can just do it themselves. But I think if you're able to cook those 2 days and practice the behavior of cooking and practice I'm tired, I just got done with my full day of work and now I got to take my kids somewhere in 45 minutes, you're filling that 45 minutes with cooking. Maybe you're eating in the car. Maybe you're still packaging it up and you guys are eating on the way to basketball practice, but you're still practicing the behavior of I'm prepping something and I'm doing it for my health and I'm doing it in a way that is not convenient and not getting the cut up stuff because like you cut up a sweet potato. Look at that sweet potato 5 minutes later. It's not going to look like what it looks like in the grocery store when it's all cut up. So what does that mean? What are they putting on it to make it still look like a sweet potato in the store weeks later? Like having things, choosing the things that are going to be a little bit more tedious, a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more challenging, but doing it in a way that's maybe slow rolling into it and that you're creating a behavior around. So you're creating the consistency of you're doing it the same way every single time. So you're doing it your Tuesday, Wednesday, and you do it every single Tuesday, Wednesday, no matter what's going on. Creating the system around that. How do you cook dinner? Are you doing the same types of meals on those Tuesday and Wednesday so that you don't even have to think about what you're cooking for the first month of doing this? And then having a reward to establish the habit and the behavior. So maybe to start off with that, you're doing, it's like, I like cooking Asian-y type of things. I'm still doing vegetables and proteins, and it is good. What I would say is a healthy meal, maybe besides putting a little bit of the soy sauce, which is, for us is just like coconut aminos. It's not even soy sauce. Like, but that is something that I enjoy eating every single time I make it. So that would be one of my meals that I would be cooking on those days because I'm going to look forward to cooking that and eating that.
Well,
so
that
my
brings
reward,
something up too, that how many times I was just doing meal prepping for myself, and I don't have a problem eating chicken every lunch and dinner until it's gone. Where how many people
Kids,
like eating
yeah.
the same thing
Well,
every
that's
day,
true.
for a week?
Yeah. To where I think you could mix that up. You could do chicken and do it several different ways, but that also requires maybe an understanding of food that some people don't have.
Correct.
Like how many times are we like, we'll just do it like this, and you're like, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
So it's like some people just don't have that ability to mix it. Like that's almost an advanced skill.
It
for
is.
cooking.
Well, people want to go fast, which is like, we could do this fast, but I think that always ends up being they don't realize how much work it's going to be, or they don't picture it the way that it's going or the suggestions of it. So it's like, well, why aren't we doing CrossFit? Like, that's what I want to do, but we're doing this instead. Or the food suggestions. It's like, well, but I really like my, my granola meal or my cereal in the morning and my bagel with cream cheese and whatever. And it's like, see, this is why we can't go fast, because if you
You're
want to
not
go
willing
fast,
to break that.
right, we can go fast, but you have to suspend everything. And it's like, this is how it will be. And then we'll get you what you want. But people just, there's so much trust that is involved with that. And then even if you're able to get them going on it and stuff like that, it's hard. The work of it is just so much more difficult than I think people imagine it being, because it's like, have to cook 7 days a week. People aren't used to cooking 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now it's that, and it's like, oh, I can't do this. And now you got to work out 3 days a week, and they're used to doing 3 workouts a week, but not like these ones. So their body's not used to this, and this is difficult for them. They're used to doing their Pilates, and they're used to that, and their body's formed to that, and they're efficient at that. So it becomes so much work and so difficult, and then the things start to break down, and then whether it's excuses or it's like, well, I just don't feel like this is really working actually, and I'm too sore for this, and all these different things come up, and it's like, see, this is why we can't go fast, because you end up diverting and getting out of it.
I almost think people need to be scared into doing it.
Yep.
Like that was me for the food.
Yeah. I think that's what I've said that before several episodes ago. I think that is the biggest mover of people having change is something scares them.
Or they're diagnosed with something scary.
Yeah. It's like something that forces, it's like people saying you got to hit your rock bottom.
Yeah.
It's like because something scared you enough to go, what I'm doing isn't beneficial for me, or it's potentially a risk that I don't think people are realizing how much, like, you're there. You're at the risk.
Yeah.
Like you are putting your health, if you have a family, you're putting your family at risk because you are unhealthy. That is dangerous.
But how many times do you hear, well, when you're 40, everybody gets put on a statin?
Mm-hmm.
It happens when you're 40, you get put on a statin. And, well, I take medications, so it's handled.
Yeah.
I can eat what I want because I take metformin or insulin.
Yeah, and wait till your health starts. It's like an old car. It can handle it for a little bit. And then when it starts going downhill, it starts going downhill very fast. And then it's too late. It's like you want to avoid it's too late to where now you're scared, but you are decades into the mix, or you are years into the mix of, it's like, yeah, grandma, how do you reverse that? How do you go, this is how I've been living my life for 30, 40 years. And now you're like, it's kind of to the point of no return, and you just have to live with the consequences. That is what I think people need to try to avoid, is you're just living with the consequences that you have been doing because you have been just not paying attention or caring about it. It's like there's a point where you're just kind of dealing with the demise now.
That's something that Peter Attia talks about, like his practice. They do like a questionnaire of like your end of life, like last 10 years of your life. What do you want to be doing and able to do? And I think he says like, be realistic, but be honest about like what you want to be able to do. And they'll go through it. And then he's got, a bunch of data and a bunch of this and a bunch of that to show like, this is where you kind of need to be at for relative strength. This is where you need to be at for, blood marker levels and all that kind of stuff to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And they drastically overestimate what they'll be able to do in the last 10 years of their life. They're like, well, I want to be able to like still
want to walk with my grandkids.
Yeah, go and walk, or I want to go water skiing still, and I want to be able to like, do my hikes that I've been doing, or I want to play with the grandkids. I want to be able to,
like
go
cook
on vacations.
at home, move around your kitchen, move around your house, clean.
How old are these people though that are doing this survey?
I think like wide ranging.
Okay.
But he'll give them, okay, this is what you need to get at and what you need to do. And then they'll go through tests and stuff. And it's like, you're at this percentile, and what you are wanting is you being at the 90th percentile. So like you have a ton of work to do in order to be able to do all the things that you want to do. Is that people just don't understand how difficult it will end up being to play with your grandkids, get down. I want to be able to get up off the ground without using something or you needing help or whatever. And it's like, you're in the 30th percentile of being able to do that. And you want to be able to do that now. Like some of the people will give stuff that they can't even do. And he's like, you can't even do it now. And you want to be able to do that in the last 10 years of your life? Like, people just don't get it. That you're rapidly declining, and the idea is to try to preserve that for as long as possible and as good as possible. And all of the things that you're doing is just making that decline worse and worse and worse. But you're saying you want to go water skiing at 75 years old? Like,
Or like grandpa and grandma being
You're-
able to do their road trips. It's like they can't do that anymore. It's like they're mentally very much there, but like their physical ability is what's holding them back from being able to live their life and have fun, or you just like walk around the block.
Right.
It's like it's very, very functional things. It might not even be as crazy like water skiing or wanting to go on hikes, but just like go pick up a heavy bowl from the top shelf that you put there 15 years ago.
mm-hmm.
Like you can't do that anymore.
So
You
I
can't
think
move around your house. You can't go into your basement.
I don't think people worry about that. They think that that's just because they can do it now, they'll be able to do that then. That decline doesn't
Go to the bathroom by yourself.
factor in. Yeah, go to the bathroom by yourself. It doesn't factor in because you're able to do it now. And it's like, what do you mean? That's like a 5-pound bowl. I'll be able to get that off the top shelf when I'm 75. Like, that's going to be no big deal. But you don't realize how rapid that decline is. And if you're not doing anything for it, you're not going to be able to get that bowl up. You're not going to be able to play with the grandkids. You get down on one knee. You're not going to be doing any of that.
So the bottom line is, no matter what age you are, it starts now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're probably behind.
Right.
Like, that's the kind
So
of
turn this
attitude.
podcast off.
Yeah.
Get to work.
Start doing squats. Yeah. I mean, it's especially when 74% of the population is overweight. Yeah. Most everybody is behind and not going to be able to reach those things. It's a good, like, practice thing to do too. Like, what things you want to be able to do the last 10 years of your life, and do you feel like you're on track for that? And the answer is probably no. So then you need to start doing something about it. And if you have the audacity to be like, yeah, I'm on track,
Assume you're not.
assume you're not, because according to this doctor and person who is independent and has been doing his own thing for a while now and is in that line of work, like, most people are not on track for what they're wanting. So you got to buckle up.
We were probably so good on time.
Anything else? Closing remarks? Okay. Like and subscribe. We're everywhere. We're taking over the world. See you later.